Hello everyone and welcome to Chess Peak. This is Grandmaster Jose Gascón and this is going to be the first video about the Najdorf. So before starting, I want to tell you that this is not going to be the only video about the Najdorf. I'm going to make a video about typical sacrifices of the Najdorf. I'm going to make a video about typical endgames of the Najdorf, also typical structures, also a video with model games of the Najdorf, and also a video with some theory. Okay, of course I cannot put all the theory of the Najdorf in one video, but okay, I will do my best for putting the most important variations. So, being said that, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of these videos. This video is going to be basically an introduction. I want to explain the ideas behind the move a6, the Najdorf Sicilian, which is e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, and now the Najdorf is the move a6. So this is the Najdorf Sicilian. And today I want to explain the ideas, and also I want to show one of my best games with the Najdorf, and actually one of the games that made me fall in love with this opening. Okay, so after a6, White has several choices, but today we won't focus on theory, but we will focus on ideas. So what are the ideas of the move a6? In order to explain this, I have to explain the concept of flexibility in chess, which is a very important concept. And it means basically making the moves that you have to make anyway, or probably you have to make in a lot of positions, and keep the other options open. For example, in order to explain this, I will compare the Najdorf to other Sicilians. So I will compare with the Scheveningen, that is the move e6, and I will also compare with the classical, that is the move knight c6. So first, talking about the Scheveningen. The Scheveningen is the move e6, which looks like a very natural development move, and for sure it's a good move. But the problem, compared to the Najdorf, is that sometimes in the Najdorf you will play e5 in one tempo. So a6, that is the Najdorf move, is a move that you are probably going to make anyway in the Scheveningen. So the Najdorf seems like more flexible. And the same happens with the classical. The classical is the move knight c6. And the problem with this move is that sometimes in the Najdorf you will develop the knight on d7, and it will have good squares like c5. So again, the Najdorf looks a bit more flexible than the classical. And in the classical, and also in the Scheveningen, you will probably make the move a6 anyway. So that's why it is an excellent option to start with a6, because you start with a6 and then you keep your other options open. And I believe this is the main idea and the main difference between the Najdorf and the other Sicilians. And of course that it's no major secret than a6, it's also very important to control b5 square and to push b5. That is a very typical move in the Sicilian. Okay, so why do we want to control b5? Because let's say we want to play e5, and let's say we play e5 immediately. So if we play e5 immediately, then the move bishop b5 check can be quite annoying. Can be quite annoying because now we don't have an easy way to block this check. If we block with the bishop, then the exchange of the light square bishops, it's usually favoring white in this pawn structure, because squares like d5 and f5 become really weak. And if we block with the knight, sorry, after bishop b5 we block with the knight, then white has the move knight f5 that can be really annoying, putting pressure on d6 and making black's development harder for sure. So a6 basically prepares e5 and also prepares b5, starting an attack on the queen side. Okay, so I believe this is it. I believe these are the main ideas of the Najdorf. So now I want to show a game that I played when I was maybe 15 years old and I was starting to play the Najdorf. And yeah, I really fell in love with the Najdorf because of this game, because it was a very beautiful game in my opinion. It was not so correct, but we can see few ideas of the Najdorf, and also we can see a very entertaining game. So let's go. So the game went a6 and white played bishop e3, which is the English attack. Now black goes e5, knight b3, and usually the bishop is very well placed on e6, pointing to the queen side. Queen d2. And here I went for the move knight bd7. Black has a lot of options in this position. But basically it's divided in two different plans. One plan is to develop first the king side, and the other plan is to develop first the queen side and try to make the attack faster. So in this game, okay, I was young and I just wanted to attack, so of course I played knight bd7 and I decided to start the attack on the queen side. f3, b5. I also have to say that there is a third plan, and is stopping the move g4 with h5. This is very fashionable nowadays. So this is also possible to play h5 in this position, in order to stop g4, which is the main idea of this setup that white has chosen. Okay, so b5, just starting the attack basically, and black makes long castle. I develop my bishop e7, g4, and now I play knight to b6 in order to give the d7 square for my other knight. Queen f2, attacking my knight, knight f d7, king b1. Okay, I think this is always an useful move. And I played queen c7, just placing my queen on a typical square using the semi-open c-file. h4. I don't think h4 is the most precise move in this position. Probably white can jump to a5, because now I cannot take with my knight, because my bishop is trapped. So I have to take with my bishop, and then this move becomes an annoying threat, because the knight might go to c6 square, and this is a typical maneuver in this variation of the Najdorf. Okay, h4 is still interesting, and here I clearly showed that my understanding of the Najdorf at that moment was not so high, because I played the move b4. Okay, it's the typical move that you play when you are young and you just want to attack, but clearly this is not the situation for doing it, because it's forcing white to play knight d5, that it's a move that white wants to play anyway. I have to take with the bishop, and now again knight a5 is a threat, so I have to prevent it by playing a5, and now bishop b5. It's really a nightmare for black, because the bishop will enter into c6, and yeah, it's basically stopping my counterplay on the queen side. Now I'm actually weak on the queen side. So I thought I was attacking on the queen side, but he's the one attacking there. So I castled, bishop c6, and now rook a6. It's definitely a very unnatural move. I think that I have several options. One option is to play a4 first. This looks like the best move for me, because when the knight moves, then I get the a5 square for the rook. So let's say knight d2, I can play rook a5, and of course I still prefer white's position after something like knight e4. I believe white's pieces are excellent in e4 and also the bishop on c6. But okay, still was a better choice than what I did in the game. In the game I played rook a6, my opponent, very accurate move, queen e2, knight b8, and now g5. This move gave me the opportunity to start a counterplay, and actually this move is a mistake, because white is actually better, but not on the king side. White is actually better on the queen side. If he makes a move like queen b5, this is really uncomfortable pressure. And I don't know what to do for black. I think the next moves are very easy for white. White can just maneuver this knight, and black has nothing to do. This knight can come like this, and the rook can play on the third rank. I think black's position is just very bad. But my opponent, luckily for me, started attacking on the king side, which is not a good idea because allows me to get excellent counterplay with the move a4. Let's see what happens after queen b5. If I go a4 and then I go, for example, a3, he can go b3, and my pieces, I don't know how to move my pieces, because this knight I cannot move because of this rook, and this rook I cannot move. The rook I cannot move because of this knight, and then this knight I don't know where to move. So all my pieces are kind of stuck on the queen side. So that's why this was an excellent move for white. And it's so typical when you're learning the Najdorf that you just want to push b5, b4, a5, and a4. Yeah, it's what it is what most of the players like to do, but it's not correct all the time. Sometimes you have to wait for a bit longer. Okay, so g5 allowed me to do like this, and now the detail is that if white plays, let's say b3, I can take on c6, and if takes my rook, I can play, for example, knight takes d5, and this is excellent position for black, despite being an exchange down. Obviously my pieces are quite active. So my opponent played bishop b5, I played an intermediate move, which is very good, rook c8, he defends c2, I move my rook, he takes my knight on b6, I take, and he plays bishop c4. And now he has an idea. He is allowing me to take on b2 and open the a file, but he thinks that the bishop on b3 will be an excellent defender, which is kind of true. The problem is that it's good defender, but maybe it's not enough. So I played knight to d7, rook f1, trying to play f4 and get some initiative in the king side, queen a7, and now the idea of all my sequence is to play knight b6 and now get ready for the following sacrifice. White moves the queen to f2. The idea for white is still the same. He wants to play f4. But then I start the attack first and I play rook takes a2. And after rook takes a2, he needs to take. I give a check on a3. He goes king a1 and I play knight c4. This is why it was important to start with knight b6 and not making this sacrifice with the knight on d7, because then I don't have this move. Rook b1 and now rook a8, which threats mate on a2. White has to play like this and I play b3, which threats mate on a2 again. And in this position white has nothing better than sacrificing the rook. Like this, then bringing the other rook, and now the material is equal, but black's position is obviously preferable. So I believe that white missed this sacrifice on a2, and in general white's play was very good until g5. This is something I really like about the Najdorf, that if white makes a little mistake, then he gets punished. There are some openings where white can make 1, 2, or 3 mistakes and nothing happens. In the Najdorf, one mistake, usually it's very serious. Okay, so queen c2, knight e3 attacking the queen, queen b3, and now I put my queen on a6, which has a lot of entry squares. He continues the attack with h5, and I enter with my queen, He plays rook to c1, covering the c2 square. I take a pawn. And now he attacks my rook and my bishop at the same time. So I defend both. I defend my rook and my bishop. He plays queen c6, attacking my rook again. I put my rook on the b file because I have the following idea in mind. An idea that you will see very soon. Okay, and white plays knight d2. So now we have the final blow. In this position, I recommend you to pause the video and try to find it by yourself. Okay, so let's see if you find it. The right move is the move queen d1. And this is just mate, basically. White has no way of prevent checkmate. If white takes the queen, obviously knight c2 is mate, beautiful mate. And if white tries to protect the rook like this, also queen c1. And then knight c2, again it's mate. And if white tries to do something desperate and deviate my rook, I can just take, and then when he takes, I take. And this is a rook up for black. So after queen d1, the game is completely over, and actually my opponent resigned in this position. So I really hope that you liked the video, and I really hope that you subscribed, and I really hope that you feel into playing the Najdorf in your next games. Okay, so remember, I will be uploading one video about the Najdorf weekly for the next maybe 5 or 6 weeks. Okay, so I see you in the next video. Bye.